Hi there, my name is Rachel Winter. I am a student at Florida Southern College studying secondary education and history. I am currently 19 years old and I work as a barista at Starbucks. Let's get into that. I started with Starbucks about 2 years ago and I have loved the company ever since I was a small child. My mother used to take me with my sister to my sister's voice lessons and I would never want to go. But she would say, we'll stop at Starbucks and see the Happy Man on the way home, and that would get me in the car faster than anything else. When I was younger, there was a barista at the Starbucks I currently work at now, and he was the nicest person on the planet, and I can never remember his name because I was so young, but every time I came through, he would smile and he would tell me a joke or just say something to make my day just the most amazing day possible. And as a small child, you're never respected like that, so it was a really amazing thing for me. That's when I fell in love with the company, and I've been in love ever since. Starbucks is a beautiful organization. They give great benefits to their workers, and we have amazing models set in place so that nobody ever feels that the company is taking advantage of them or that the company is trying to disregard them as a person. Recently, a lot of people have been asking about the training that Starbucks employees received around racial bias, and I think that the training itself was very personal and very effective because the table I was with, let me start with how they set it up. They set up the training so that you were separated into groups of about 6 people, my group being one of the groups that had the most diversity in the store. Was a blessing and a curse because our group took the longest in having conversations and discussions, but I feel like we also got the most out of it. It was an amazing experience, and it's one of those experiences that I will never forget. I had the opportunity to talk with my coworkers and to take my personal past and mesh it with theirs so that we could create a big picture of what this world is like in our eyes and how we can make it better. Every day I strive to make the world a better place by doing at least one nice thing for somebody. It seems like a really simple and silly little thing, but just holding a door open for somebody or making sure that when you hand them their latte it is correct, or giving somebody an extra smile or giving somebody a little bit of motivation to do the best that they can, that is so important to other people's lives. I used to do many pieces of volunteer work in high school, and I still try to do volunteer work today. In high school, I was a member of Key Club, which is a high school branch of the Kiwanis organization. And I was also a member of NHS, National Honor Society. And I also was a member of our student council and anything else I could get my hands on, with the exception of anything having to do with science, because that was my one field of downfall. I think that volunteer work, and I think Key Club was my favorite organization for it. I think volunteer work is important. I think that it's something that everybody should do once in a while. I often volunteer at soup kitchens or do clothing donation runs, or I go around to all the little libraries in my town and I try to fill them up with books so that people can have things that they were never able to have in their lives. There's a woman who comes by our Starbucks about once a month, and she comes in, she sits down, she pays for one tall coffee, and she just sits there and she talks to us. She's the sweetest little old lady that you've ever met, but she smells. And I can't blame her for it because she's been homeless for about 15 years ever since her husband died. That woman, I try to give her anything I can to help. I've given her soaps that I've had that have been, like, I've bought extra just because I thought maybe she can use this. I've given her clothing that my sister has thrown out because she's about the same size as my sister. I've given her as much as I can because I feel that if we don't help each other in this world, then who's going to help us? I think Starbucks is a great way to emphasize that point because Starbucks has a great initiative in having volunteer work for their employees and having all of these opportunities to make connections with your customers. I've been able to, with Starbucks, do things that I don't think any other job place could have allowed me to. I can give food to people who are in need. I can make sure that if a customer is having a bad day, I can sit down and talk with them about it. We've had a lot of upsets in our store with customers coming in and feeling so down and in such a dark place. So to be able to sit down with them and talk to them and make sure that everything's okay, it really touches them, and you can help other people that way. And I think a lot of my ambition to help others and to make sure that everybody in my life, at least, has a place and has somebody to talk to, and that I can help no matter what is going on. Sorry, I'm a little sick, so my throat's kind of dying. I think the best way to describe why I always feel this way is to discuss where I'm from. I am from a little town in Florida called Winter Haven, Florida, and it is also the home of Legoland. It used to be the home of Cypress Gardens before it changed, and my parents are both from Minnesota, actually. My father moved to Florida with my mother. I want to say it was 1990 or 1991. It was only a few years before my older sister was born, and they have been here ever since. My mom used to run 2 Dairy Queens in the area, and now she is a real estate agent for Keller Williams. So if you're looking for a house, Tina Winter's your gal. And if you're looking to sell your house, she can also help you. My father is a safety and wastewater management professional at Florida Caribbean Distillers, or Florida Distillers. They go by one or the other, and they just changed the name recently. I'm so sorry. But I've grown up in Winter Haven my whole life, and I've only been out of state a handful of times, with the exception to Minnesota, because Minnesota I went to every summer as a child. The states I visited would include Minnesota, Wisconsin, Alabama, and very briefly Georgia. I drove through all the way home because I just had to see a little piece. Growing up in such a small town, I've grown up in a very close-knit community. I used to work with my local theater, acting theater, all the time, and I loved it. I did volunteer work there all the time. I've done volunteer work at all of the soup kitchens in our town. I've gotten to meet so many amazing people, and I love every day that I can say I'm from Winter Haven because it's such a beautiful and close-knit community. Sure, we get the occasional, crazy, or we have problems, but I feel like compared to other towns that I visited or that my friends have been from and that I've heard from them, I feel like there's just something so special about this town that I wouldn't mind staying here my whole life, but I know it probably won't happen because I am very much so a mover and a getter. I like to go visit and travel all the time, so I need to have the kind of bank account that supports that. So as soon as I graduate from college, I would like to get a job in my educational field in a place that pays me well enough to where I might be able to travel one day. My mother and father are both from Minnesota, as I stated earlier, and I'm sorry if I keep glancing down. I made a checklist for myself so that I wouldn't forget anything. They are both from Minnesota, and my father used to be part of the military. He was in the Navy on submarines, and my mom traveled with him everywhere he went, having so many different jobs. She is truly my hero and such an amazing inspiration. She's worked everywhere from Red Lobster to Ross to Macy's to beauty salons to everything you can think of. She worked in a soda shop when she was a kid, which is such an old-fashioned term to me, but I'm sure to other people they're like, oh, I remember the soda pop shops. My parents are my greatest inspiration for choosing education as well, because my mother's father and my dead grandfather, bless his soul, he was a mathematician, which is one of my worst subjects other than science. But he was a math teacher, and he taught high school, middle school, and I always thought that was amazing. My grandmother, oh gosh, does what any woman does with her husband, berates and compliments him at the same time. And not that I remember my Grandpa Bush very well, but I feel like I still have this connection to him, and that this is something that I can do to kind of invoke his memory. Other than that, I picked education because I feel that the children of tomorrow are our future, and that not enough children, because that's, even in high school, which is, I'm going into secondary education, high school's the field I want to hit, I still feel that they're children. Even though a lot of them are only like a year or so different in age from me, I feel that so many of them just don't get the attention that they need or the time that they need in order to understand a topic fully. I feel that education is one of our most needed fields in America right now. And originally I was going to be a music teacher because I play viola and I love orchestra, and I've played viola ever since I was in 5th grade, and it's just something that I love to do, and it's something that helps keep me very together. But I chose secondary education and social sciences because I feel like I can connect to high schoolers better, and that they're the ones who really need a focus right now in our society. We always say start young, but we can't finish weak. We can't leave these high schoolers out there for nothing. And then I chose social sciences because history tells a story. History is the way that we learn from the past in order to make our future better. Other fields of social sciences that I love, though, I'm not the greatest at math, but economics is actually something that I absolutely adore. It is one of the most fascinating things on the planet to me. I could look at the stock market and watch things just go up and down all day long. I also happen to love government. I think it's very fun to talk about politics, and as long as it's in a very kind of controlled setting so that nobody gets too heated or too angry. I am a moderate, in case you were curious. So I don't really lean either left or right. I see values and faults with both sides, and I think that I land somewhere in the middle, so that's where I like to place myself. I truly think that the other career options I'd set out for myself, which were to do cosmetology in a professional setting for a horror movie capacity, so to do more of like prosthetics and gore and body painting, things like that. And then the other option I had for myself was to, sounds so dumb. I'm sorry. The other option I had for myself was to go into psychology and then to be a child psychologist, because I feel that children need a voice. And I still plan on pursuing psychology someday, but maybe a little bit when I'm a bit older and a little bit more mature for my own age, because I feel that since I'm still 19, I don't quite have the maturity and complexity to fully realize and handle other people's situations. I love to be a shoulder for people to lean on and cry on sometimes, and I love to listen to other people, and I love to try to help people through their situations. However, I don't feel that I am at the age where I have had all of the experiences in the world and where I am actually able to help those who need professional help in that capacity. So I feel like after I do education for a while, I may go back and get my psychology degree, and I would love to be able to help youths, especially because as a youth myself, I had days where they were dark as the night, and I never had that kind of help out there. But I've realized getting older that your parents are somebody you can definitely lean on if you give them the chance sometimes, even if you're an angsty teen and you think, my parents won't understand me. And a lot of your teachers, they're there for you if you just talk to them. All in all, I would summarize myself to be a workaholic who loves music, volunteer work, and anything else I can do to make somebody else's day. Other little fun facts about me: I have 3 dogs who I work 40 hours a week to feed because they're such little gluttons, and I spoil the stuffing out of them. They're mini schnauzers, and I absolutely love them. They're the best things in my life. I also have a boyfriend Not that that really matters, because, you know, who knows what the future holds. But he's the sweetest thing on the planet, and he knows that if he saw this, he'd be laughing with me about that. And what other things are there important to know about me before I clip this off? I love to cook. I love to make coffee. I love to drink coffee. And if you ever need somebody to talk to, or if you ever want to just hang out and be friends, I will open up my schedule as much as I can. I love meeting new people. I love giving new experiences. And I love coffee, so I'm always down to drink some coffee with someone. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful life.